Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio and demonstration watercolor today. I'm broadcasting live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, and I'll be sending it out on Instagram later on today. I'm in the studio with my wife Gloria today,
Hello, everyone.
and she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room. So if you have comments or questions, put them on the chat room, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Also on the broadcast, you can put them in the video after the video. You can add comments there after the show also on a replay. What I'm going to do today, we're going to do a landscape, and I'm going to paint landscape. I'm going to do the sky, a water, and the trees. Those are the three main areas. So let me go to my painting table and let me get started. Overhead. Okay, here's my painting table. Here's my reference photograph here. This is a photograph I took about a couple weeks ago, but the sky was really beautiful. It was a beautiful day, and I got a nice cloud formation. But mainly, I'm interested in the cloud skies, interested in the sky, and we'll play around with that. And also the water. You notice here, this was a morning shot, so the clouds themselves were not backlit, so the sun was shining on the clouds, so there's no backlit. And but the water here, you can see it's light here, and it gets darker as you come forward, and the trees and so forth. So the trees, the sky, and the water, that's what I'm going to concentrate on today. But that's a beautiful scenery that I've seen. I go here. This is a favorite place of mine that I go many times. Now, what I've done here as far as design work, I've taken the photograph, and as you see here, here's a little beginning composition study I did of that particular photograph. There's the sky area, a space, shape. Here's the water space down here. Then I have the trees. So you see, I got it marked off in mainly three main areas with a little bit of the ground over here. There'll be some low bushes and some grass down here on the side. But I count those as trees over here. So those are the three main areas that break up the landscape. And from the photograph, I did a drawing, a design drawing. You can see here the design drawing. I got the sky with the trees and the water, and the trees here on the side. So that's my design sketch. Now. I've done a couple of preparatory things. I've done a value study. So I took the drawing and did a photocopy, and then I went ahead and worked on the values, the lights and darks. So this is a dark. Some of the parts of the sky will be a little bit darker blue and so forth. Then the trees are the darkest area with some darks over here, and the dark here on the sideline over here next to the water. Okay, and the water will be laid in there from top to bottom. So that's my value study for my design. So this composition, I'm going to very basic composition of three main elements of the of landscape, but I thought to be very interesting. Now I transferred that drawing to my painting paper. This is 140-pound Gemini watercolor paper. It measures 15 inches long and 11 inches wide, and I'm going to have it in a vertical or portrait format today because of the format of the composition. Hey, over here my palette, I have my Artists Watercolor set up here, and up here at the top I got my blues. I got Cerulean Blue. I'll be using Cobalt Blue and Ultramarine Blue up here. Those three main blues. Then I may get down here in the bottom. I'll use some earth tones. I've got the yellow ochre here. A little bit of burnt sienna, and I got some greens over here. Over here on the right is Hooker's green. So and the brushes I'm going to use the small Hake and the large Hake today. There's Hake brushes from Silver Brush. I'll use those for painting in the sky and the water. And I'm going to be using three brushes here. I got a 3/4 inch flat, half-inch flat, and a number 8 round. These are Holbein synthetic brushes. I'll be using those in a painting today. So I'm going to get started here. I'm going to start with the sky. And the values I'm going to start with the darker blue, which is going to be ultramarine blue So I'm going to mix that up here, make sure I get a nice puddle here going. So I'll start with Ultramarine Blue at the top. Get a nice puddle here of Ultramarine Blue. Okay. Now as I come down, I'm going to introduce a little bit of Cobalt Blue as I come down, just a little bit. And then finally at the bottom of the bottom of the sky will be a little bit of Cerulean Blue, my lightest blue. Okay. So I'll be going from dark to light in the sky, and also in the water. We're using the same colors in the water. So my first job here is to wet the sky. So I'm going to use a large Hockey brush, and I'm only going to wet the areas that I'm going to put the sky in. I'm going to leave the rest of it white. Use the white of the paper. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to the section in here. There'll be a little sky in this section here also. So I got some skies and so forth. So that's how I'm going to set it up. So the first color is Ultramarine Blue. Make sure I get a nice spoon brush full. And I'm going to go in here and put in that sky color. I'm going to break that up so it's not straight. I'm going to have a little variety there on that side. So I want to get a nice sky shape. I want to make an irregular shape, a sky shape coming down into this area. Then I'm going to go a little bit lower. Now, as I come down lower in the sky, I'm going to change my color. I'm going to go into a little bit of Cobalt Blue, which will be a lighter blue, but there'll be a different value. So I'm going to come in here and do another little patch of blue across here that will take it into the tree line over here. Now I got my board elevated about a 15-degree elevation. I got it popped up here so that the paint will roll down at the bottom. And then finally I'm going to put a little bit of cerulean. The cerulean I'm going to just very lightly now toward the horizon area down here, but down here behind the trees, just a little touch of the blue right at the very low area. With a lot of water. I don't want that very dark at all. Okay, now I'm going to look at my shapes to make sure I'm happy with them. What I'll do here on that, I think with the I'm going to put a little more pigment up here in the sky up here in this section, just a little bit. Make that darker up there, and then I'm going to pick up a little more blue, cobalt, and bring that in there. Just while it's still wet, you can while the paint's still wet, you can still add pigment to the mix. Okay. And this shape down here, I want to make it a little bit different. I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the shape just a little bit to give a little more interest. I don't want it to be a straight line. I want to have a little bit of edges around here of the clouds. Off into the tree line. That's fine. Okay. All right, well, that's drying. I'm going to let it dry on its own. I'm going to touch it. I'm going to start working on the water down here. Now what I'm going to do just the opposite now. At the water line, I'm going to start with the lightest color down here, which is the Cerulean Blue at the very back. As I come forward, and I'm going to leave a little white paper showing also to show just a little bit of variety in the water. I mean, just showing those little patches of highlights from the sun hitting on the waterway. Now I'm going to pick up a little. Now I'm going to pick up the Cobalt Blue now, a little bit darker, as I come forward. A little bit bluer. A little bit more blue color. So using Cobalt Blue. Now, come to the last part here will be using the Ultramarine Blue. It's just like I have in the top of the sky. I got the darkest down here at the bottom, so the water is reflecting what's in the sky. So what color I have here is going to be reflections of the colors in the sky. So again, I'm going to just put that blue down in here. And down here, instead of I could have gone wet on wet, but I decided to go ahead wet on dry. It gives me a little more control and keeps the paint from flowing too fast. Okay, I'll go back here now. I'm going to put a little more pigment back here in some of these areas, maybe back here in this section of the cerulean, and then pick up a little more of the Cobalt Blue, and put some more color back in there. And then the Ultramarine Blue come in. Now remember, watercolor is going to dry about 40% lighter, so you got to put the color in darker than what you think you need, because if it's still wet and it looks like it's fine, you're wrong, because the color is going to dry much lighter when it dries. So you have to compensate for that. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry. Yeah, I might put the dryer on. See, let me get the dryer and let me dry the painting. I'll turn on the heater. So what I've done so far is I've put the 3 colors of blue. Whoa, that's really, looking in the monitor, that's really great. Look at the size, look at the colors there. Ultramarine blue up in the sky up the top. And as I come down, put in Cobalt Blue, a little bit lighter blue, different color. And then at the very horizon area, down by the trees, I've got the Cerulean Blue just behind the trees, with the shapes of the clouds in there. Then down in the water, I went just the opposite. I started out with Cerulean Blue here in the back part of the water. As I came forward, I got a little bit darker with the Cobalt Blue, and then down here in the foreground of the water, I used the Ultramarine, because that's a reflection of the sky. Okay, all right, that's dry enough. I won't be touching the water unless I go back and do a little touch up. Right now, just let it sit, and I'm going to go ahead and start entering in some of the background. What I'm going to do now is start working on these background trees. So this little row of trees back here, way in the background, I'm going to start out with that. So I'm going to mix up some greens here. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch flat Holbein brush. And I'm going to mix up a little bit of Hooker's green. A little bit of hooker's green. We'll start out with a darker, way out in the background, it's going to be, the further away I get, it's going to be a little bit darker with a little more blue. I'm going to pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue and bring that into the mix. So I'm mixing the darker green with hooker's green, and I'm adding ultramarine blue to that to make it darker. And I bring it in a little bit at a time and use the edge of the puddle as I start that, okay? So I'm going to go back here now. I'm going to put in that dark green back here in the background. And now I'm putting in some trees that back here. And these are way off in the background, way in the background. So these will be darker, and they also got a little blue in them. Which will push them back into the background. Okay. And I'm also putting them up into that little blue I put in the background to kind of show through. You really won't see too much detail back here because it's pretty far back. That shows distance and gives the definition of the tree line. Okay, now as I come forward now, I'm going to add a little bit of lighter green now. This is green number 1. And mix that in with a little bit of that hooker's green to keep it like a middle value. So like a middle value. Now I'm going to bring that in here. It'll be a lighter green. As I come forward, the green gets a little bit lighter, and the sun's shining a little bit more on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. And I can see some more detail now because I'm a little bit closer, so I'm going to put some more detail. I'm going to put a little bit of maybe some evergreen trees back there, some tall pine trees that are way in the background. So I'll show a little more detail over here on this side. I'm getting closer to I'm getting closer coming forward. So I can put a little more detail into the design here, a little into the painting. Okay. And let's see if I wanted to put a little. Bring it up here. Okay, now up here, the closer ones, I'm going to even put a little more. I'm going to add a little yellow now to this mix. Add a little bit of yellow to this green. Because this is springtime, so there are going to be some trees that are going to have spring colors, and the greens are starting to come out along the edge of the riverbank, and also the trees. So I'm going to indicate that here with a little bit of yellow green as we get closer. So again, that's going to show a little bit of atmospheric perspective where things are a little bit warmer as you come forward, and as you go back into the distance, things are become a little cooler. So that helps with the linear perspective, atmospheric perspective. Those trees are warmer, so we got three groups of trees here. That there's a distance tree, there's a middle group of trees that are coming forward, and there's a closer group of trees that are in the front. which gives us the indication that they're closer. Okay, all right. Then I'm going to go ahead and put. I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I do anything else with it. I'm going to work on this tree mass over here. I'm going to change brushes now. It's a little bit bigger area, so I'm going to go into a larger brush. I'll use a 3/4 inch Holbein synthetic. And up here, I'm going to start with the lighter greens over here, because it's the outer part of the edge. So the sun is shining on the leaves out here. So I'm going to show that as a sunlit branches up here. And I'm going to have show a little bit of loose. This is springtime, so there's going to be just branches out there with leaves on them. So I'm going to show that as a group of leaves out there that'll be on branches when I finish. This one is going to have a little blue peeking behind. So we're going to have partially in clouds behind, and this one's going to have some of the sky behind. Little variety there. And as I come forward, I'll bring in some more of that foliage. The trees are a little thicker out here on this section. It's also got a little darker because it's got some blue in it, which is good. It comes from the sky. As we come down, I can change the green a little bit. This is a little further. As I go down now, I'm going back into the distance. So now I'm adding I'm picking up a little more bluish green now, going into the distance. As I go further back into these are forward trees, and now we're going into the middle area, middle distance trees at this point. So I'm picking up a little bit of darker green. Okay, then the far ones way back there, I'm going to pick up the dark green. Now back here, this green here is going to be really dark because they're further back, further away. So again, we're getting a little bit of aerial perspective here with the colors. The colors are cooler and they're darker as we go away from the foreground. Okay. Now also, as we're getting back into the left side over here, we've also got, these are in shadow, so we have some shadows back here. So I'm going to put some darker greens back here in this area to indicate the shadows. And this will be a mixture of greens here. Leaves, parts of the trees, and so forth. So just kind of I'm blocking in sort of a base color here to get started. Okay, and then it'll be, these are lower, these areas in here. Let's take a look at the photograph. We got there's a row of dark trees, a row of dark bushes right here, in this section right here, just above this grass. There's some dark trees, so I'm going to put that in. So those are much darker, so I can add some more blue in there, adding more ultramarine blue into this mix here, and I'll put this in. These are really dark, so I'm going to put those in. These are low bushes that are in shadow, but they're much darker greens. The leaves are much darker, so it's a different sort of bush or different foliage. and they go all the way down to the area where I have the background started. This is the background along here, so this becomes part of the background also. Okay. All right. Next thing I want to block in is going to be the tall weeds. So I think what I want to do there is I'm going to pick up some ultramarine. I'm going to pick up some yellow ochre, and I'll make it a light mix. I'm going to add a lot of water to that yellow ochre, and I'm going to go in here now and put it in a background color. These are tall grasses that are growing up here next to the bank, just below the tree line. There's this tall grass, brown grass. These will be renewed during the summer because they'll have newer grass. But this is old grass. It's turned brown, but it's still there. Tall weeds and tall grasses, tall stokes. Okay. And then here on the bank is going to be some grass that's growing along the bank, so I'll put that in. That kind of breaks that up. I'm picking up some light greens. Be a mixture of greens with rough brush strokes. So my first job here now is just to block in the major areas and get colors on the paper. Then I can start working on a little more detail. And but I'm gonna keep this loose because I think a loose painting is also very attractive. To have a loose painting and not have too much overdone or too much reworked areas, but make it nice and loose brush strokes. Okay, so I've got the tall trees over here on the left. I got a bush line over here. I got this tall weeds, and I got some grass down here on the bank of the of the river, or the waterway. It's a waterway. Okay, so all right, now then I've got some. What I can do now, I'll take this smaller brush. It's dry back in here. So what I can do now is I'm going to put a bank, a mud bank along the edge. So I'm going to use a little bit of my burnt sienna. Now I'm mixing a little bit of burnt sienna now, and let's see how dark I want to get that. In the way in the background, I'll mix a little bit of ultramarine blue with that. Get a little darker. Ultramarine blue's up here. Bring it down, mix it in with that burnt sienna. Then I'm going to put that put that water bank right along in here. That's just below the tree line. That's right next to the water. That's like a mud bank. It's mud along there. It's dark. It's always wet depending on the tide. When the tide rises, it gets wetter. And it goes behind this little clump. And I'm gonna make this little section here, and I'm gonna make this little section break up out forward. So I'm gonna couple little. They're not islands, but they're little parts of the shoreline that comes out. So it's not a smooth bank. It's got little indications in there. And there's also one here. This one comes out here. I'll put a little. These are these are the banks of the waterway that are darker. Okay. I'll let that dry, and then along here, I can start now with a much darker. Over here, there is, along this way, I've got also mud. And I can start with much darker now. Where this grass is, there's also where it touches the water. And I may want to pick that up just a little bit. I don't want it much darker. So I just take a tissue and just blot it up a little bit so I can control the water there. And this one here I'm going to put in a little bit, get a little bit further out. These are mud bank. These are mud along the edge of the waterway here. Into the water. And then up here there's a little, so I'm going to skip that. I think I'll bring this up here, up to this point here. Okay. And this area up in here is, now as I come forward I can get, it's going to be a little bit lighter because remember it's the sun shining on it now, so, but it's still wet. There's wet, this is the wetness of the bank because the water washes up on it when the tide comes in. And of course when the boats go by, they wash up water up onto the banks here, or near the banks, up onto the shoreline. So this is kind of like a shoreline that is along the edge of the waterway. We'll put those banks in, we'll build those up. At this time of the year, there wasn't much activity out on the waterway because it was chilly. This day I took this, I think it was the temperature was like 45 or 46 degrees out there, so it was a little chilly for boat riding. So I really had the whole place to myself, more or less. There were a few people around, but not many, because during the summertime this is a very busy area. This waterway has a lot of boats that sail up and down, and a lot of activity during the summertime. It'll start around Memorial Day. After Memorial Day, there'll be a lot of boats up and down the waterway. And there's all sizes and all there's yachts go by, and so it's really fascinating. There's different kind of boats that use this waterway. A lot of commercial boats. I've seen some of the large tugboats come in here with large material that they have that they push along with the barges. They have large barges that they can push along this way. So it's a very, very popular place, both for recreation and also for commercial use. So this area here, I'm putting in the bank here for the waterway. Now that's pretty good. I like that. And I can make some of these a little bit bigger than others, because it's not all smooth. There's a roughness here. There's grass growing along the edge, mud, erosion from the water. Okay. Okay. All right, I pretty well got all the areas blocked in, even the sky, I think. And there's not much more I want to do with that. I'll leave that alone. I'm going to make a few marks up here. I guess I will start with the sky. What I'm going to do with the sky is, because the clouds were not backlit. This was a morning where they come out. I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to take a little bit of Payne's gray, just a very light Payne's gray up here in the top, and make a light mix. So I don't want it too dark, but I'm going to make enough because I'm going to cover a little bit of area here. So what I'll do is take I'll take my number 16 round. This is a number Holbein number 16 round, which is a synthetic brush. I'm going to wet that up. And I'm gonna put a little moisture up here on the bottom of this cloud, and put a little bit of shadow, a little bit of shading in there, just a touch. Show just a little bit of dimension on this area, just a touch. And I'll put some more. I'll put another one up here, maybe just a, because there was a little bit of definition on the clouds, but not much, because it wasn't very. The sun was shining on the clouds, so it didn't really have a lot of definition. Other than the edges. The edges were fine, but there was no interior side, no interior shapes. So just a little hint there of a shadow. And I think I'll do the same thing, just very faint down here at the bottom. So just give a very light application down here, just a hint of a little shadow. And feather that out a little bit. Feather these out. So the soft clouds, you don't want any hard edges on the inside. You want soft edges to show that it's a little dimension. Okay. All right, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the one at the top and leave it alone. Just soften up, just to give them a little identification in the clouds. And let's see, I think that helps with that a little bit. Okay. And the background trees, what I'll do there, I'll take the smaller brush. This is a number 8 round. And what I want to do here is identify a little bit more of those trees back there. So I'm going to come in here on this edge. And I'm going to define some trees over here that are light in front of dark. I'm going to bring in some of that darker area. So make this a little bit darker here, because this is a darker green. And leave some of the areas untouched, so there's like a breakup of the leaves and so forth. Give it a little dimension. And now I'm going to pick up a dark green, and I'm going to in the photograph there are buildings back here, and they were hard. They didn't see any on sight. I didn't take photographs of the buildings back here, but there are buildings. But there is a few buildings back here, and I'm going to put a building back here just to have something as an area, the focal point. Not going to be a focal point, but it's going to be another area to show that, hey, there is life back there along the waterway. There are some buildings, but I'll put one building in the painting. And everything's kind of leading to that area, so that's kind of what I want to do anyway. And then the next one I'm going to put in a little middle green. And I'm going to build this up a little bit. And put a little bit of darks in here, give it little shadows inside the trees. Give them a little bit of dimension. Some little lights and darks. Not too much, because this is the background. It's pretty far away. So I just put a little bit of definition back in there. Let's see, this is the middle. So then I'm going to break up this area here now to give it a little light against dark right here. And a little shadow back in here to break this up just a little bit. Separate this tree area here and behind that one. Leave some of the light showing. And put little darks and lights in here to break this up just a little bit, just a touch. Okay, all right. Okay, let that dry on its own now. Now over here on this tree line, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna. A bit of burnt sienna. Add in a touch of ultramarine. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some trees in here. I'll put some tree trunks. So I'll make this one some positive shapes here. Positive shapes, and break that up a little bit so that it shows some negative. I'll put some little leaves across that in a second. I'll have another tree here, and put another one close by. Okay, and let's see. Then moving back into the further away, I'm going to put a couple more tree trunks back here. Again, this just to kind of break this area up a little bit, and not just have it all green, but just show it a little bit of the foliage. And then another positive shape over here. And I think I'll put the last one back here on this side. Okay, and then what I want to do now is connect some. I think I'll use my rigger. Okay, this is a number 4 rigger. This is a Holbein number 4 rigger. Synthetic, but it does a good job. Now I'm going to put some of that, pick up some of that burnt sienna, mixed in with a little bit of that blue. Doesn't matter, blue or green, just a little darker. And then with the rigger, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to put in some branches. So I'll bring this down so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put in some branches now off the side here. So riggers gives you a nice fine and for detail. Riggers were used aboard ship to do the sailors when they were at sea. They painted their ships with the riggers and so forth with the rigging on the ship. So riggers have been used for a long time. And now artists use them for the same thing. This here is gives you a nice fine line for branches. And I'll just give you a couple ideas there. And let's see, I'll get maybe one more over here. There's put a branch out here on this area. Okay. And we indicate some over here. So this gives a little believability of the trees. You put some trunks and some branches out here in the greenery to give it a little feel for actually looking at a tree line. And I'm working light against dark. Okay, that's enough of that. But that's like just adding a little definition in that part there. Now the other part I want to get is down here on these weeds. So I got to get the. Remember I used yellow ochre down here, and now I'm going to mix in a little bit of burnt sienna with that to get a darker brown, darkish brownish yellow. Adding a little bit of burnt sienna in with that yellow ochre. And this use the rigger. And now I'm going here and I'm going to put in some brush strokes for grass. So these were tall weeds here that were growing along the side here. These were brown grass. But these will be regenerated here in the spring. They're already got some greenery already down by the roots, so they'll be taking over this brown. They'll be green. There'll be green bushes along, not green, but green grass along here, tall grass. And along most riverway or waterways are this has got a lot of fresh water here in this water. So it grows all kinds of different vegetation. Lots of wildlife around. See lots of ducks flying, birds, small animals. So just now as I get further away now, I'm just going to let it get drier. Take out a little bit of water in my tissue here, and as I get further away, they're going to get a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller, a little less defined, but still the indication that there's these grass. This grass is growing along the edge. And I'll make some lights and darks here by adding a little pigment here. Some lights and dark areas. Okay, to get the indication. Now this area in here, what I'd like to do is I'm going to take, let's see, where's my, I don't have my, yes I have somewhere, a little piece of, a piece of paper here, and I'm going to cover this up. And I'm going to use my dot spray bottle. This is a palette in a bottle. I'm going to use this dot sprayer. It's got the white top on it. Sold exclusively at everettswatercolors.com. And I'm going to use this dot sprayer. Now I'll go ahead and I prime the pump over here on the palette. I'm going to get the water flowing. Get the paint coming out of the bottle. There we go. Okay, we're live. Okay, and I'm gonna splatter with this dot spray bottle. Light dot spray, just a light touch. You can see it coming out in a pattern. And this is going to simulate grass down here. A little bit of grass on the riverbank. Oh, nice pattern here. Nice pattern. I love it. Okay, now if you've never seen a spray bottle before, that's what a dot sprayer does. So you can see the dots on there that gives you the indication of grass. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of that green, probably yellow, yeah, use green number 1. And this section here has got taller grass because it's overlapping this one grouping. So I'm going to have just showing a little bit of grass showing here. So there was a lot of grass lying down, but there was also grass popping up here on the edge. So I can put a little bit of that in there on top of these dots. So here I'm adding a little bit of vertical movement here, a little bit of vertical dimension here. I've got a lot of horizontal stuff going on. The vertical here in the trees, but a little bit of vertical down here next to this horizontal bank over here. So I'm putting a little bit of strokes here showing that there's grass here on the ground. Okay, all right. I'll bring that up. You can see a little bit of grass on there. So let me take a look. And I really don't want to get too much. You can see that. You can see up there, as close up as I can get. Yay! Look at that. Look at the dots and the instead of splattering, I just use the dots. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to do some final touch-ups to kind of bring things together a little bit. So I'll use my 1/2-inch round brush, flat brush, excuse me, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of this mix here. I'm going to use a palette mix, whatever I have here. I'm going to use a little bit of this brown mixed in with a green. It's okay. We'll just get a color here, and kind of what I'm going to go along here now, and kind of bring some of these together. I don't want them hanging loose, but kind of, there's little shadows along here. Bring them out a little bit, a little shadow pattern. A little bit of shadows down here along the river, along the bank. Bring those in a little bit. Show a little bit of dimension there, a little bit of bank, a little bit taller here, and it goes out, gets flatter. And then back here along the tree line, I'm going to get a little darker. I'm going to use this dark mix here. I got a little bit of cobalt and a little bit of ultramarine up here, and go back in here and kind of bring this down behind these bushes here. Bring it behind the tall grass. Going to come up. Bring in some darker areas, little shadows. What I'm doing, eliminating some of the white paper is what I'm doing, and by doing that, I'm adding in some darks. I'm adding in a little bit of color and darkness back in here, a little bit of shadow pattern, and I'm eliminating some of the green, some of the white paper. That's all I'm doing. And over the dark green, I'm going here now. I'm going to pick up some of these white areas. And these are more like bushes, so I'm going to have a little more definition here now. Showing some leaves and branches and so forth coming out of these darker areas. And I actually make real spontaneous brush marks here, just to show a little bit of motion, a little bit of movement here, and showing there are leaves here. So I'm making a little short and choppy brush strokes here, close up, indicate that there were leaves and so forth here in the trees. As I get further away, they get less defined. So I'll just be careful on that, overdoing that. I leave some of the white paper showing for shines and highlights and so forth. Okay, let me see. I'm looking in the monitor, and I see a nice bright, nice dark blue sky up here, and it comes down, it gets lighter, it comes down to a small area, and I see the waterway. It's coming down. Now in the waterway, there's not too much to do there, but there are a little bit of movement in the water. So I've got the value change from light to dark. That shows gradation, and then I can put a little bit of motion in the water just by showing some lines here, because there's a ripple, like a ripple effect. Wind blowing across the water. It's going to leave little marks. It's going to leave marks, movements. And it kind of, what it does, it kind of radiates down here to comes down this way in this direction. And I'm going to smooth those out, but I want to get some lines in there just to get started a little bit, just to indicate. Now I'm going to go back in now. I'm going to smooth those out. Start back here. So those are just indications of the water movement, lights and darks. I'm going to soften up some of those hard edges. Get some horizontal movements here. There's just movement in the water. It's both from the wind and the movement of water. That's about as much as I'm going to do on that. Okay, just leave that alone. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now the last thing I want to do now is down here, this little house. I'm going to put a little red rooftop on it. So I'm going to take some Pyro red, the only red I'm going to use, in this painting. And I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put a little red roof on this top, on this white house. Okay. All right, and I'm going to take a smaller brush. This is a number 2 round, the smallest brush I have, but I'm just going to use it as put in a little bit of, I'm taking a little bit of Payne's gray and give me a dark color. And I'm going to put the indication of a window down here, just to indicate a window. Okay. So you can see, I'll bring it up to you, can see close. That is the little house there in the back. Way off in the back. Okay, so if you look at the design, when I painted the sky, I have the sky coming in this direction and in this direction. I've got the background trees coming in this direction, and I've got the water coming up into this direction. I've got the shoreline here coming in this direction, and the trees. So everything points to this area right down in here. This little area in here. So that could become the center of interest or focal point, whatever you want to call it. I really don't have that's a focal point of the whole design, but putting that little building down there kind of puts a little marker on the painting. Okay, so this was an exercise in doing a landscape for the sky, the water, and the trees. Sky, water, and the trees. Landscape. So let's go back to my main camera. Oh, maybe before I leave, let me show you. I did this is a plein air painting I did when I was on location. This is my outdoor pad, watercolor pad. This is my travel pad. And I did a little plein air study there when I was on location. So I actually did, of course the photograph is what I've already shown you. The photograph and the online and the on location, on site photograph. Those help you out when you do a painting. So let's go back to the main camera. Okay. Okay, I had a lot of fun doing that today of landscape. Landscape is my my go-to painting. I love landscapes, and this is a favorite spot of mine. That I found a beautiful day, sunlight coming down, the sun was shining, the sky and the water and everything was just perfect. There was no boats in the water. If it was a boat, I was going to put it in the painting, but I didn't want to make one up, so I put the little house in there to just indicate that there's more than one house back there. But I just want to put one in there, not overdo it. And I didn't want to overdo the painting. I didn't want to get too carried away with a lot of detail. I wanted to keep it fairly simple. Concentrate on the main sizes, which was the sky and the water and the trees. That were the main shapes that I was working with. I broke it up into different values and different colors to make it more interesting. And I played around a little bit with the sky, with the shadows and in the clouds. So that was my exercise today for landscape. So if you enjoyed that, give me a thumbs up and a like. I'd appreciate that. And if you have comments, you can write them in the comments below.
And thank you for the ones that have given you a thumbs up so far.
Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. I don't see everybody's thumbs up on this, so I have to go look at my other locations that are. We're getting broadcasted at 4 different locations on this particular program. So I'll have the chance to take a look at that later. But tell your friend, notify them. I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 2:00 p.m. For another watercolor demonstration. And I'll be on this evening at 7:30 with Simply Drawing with Everett. Okay, I hope to see you then. And then later on the weekend, on a Sunday, I put out Anyone Can Draw with One Line Only. You may enjoy seeing that. It's a 7-day. Now, if you're subscribed to my channel, you subscribe to this video, if you subscribe to my channel by subscribing, then you'll be notified of my next video. So that's a benefit for you. So until next week, you all stay safe, and the weather's getting nicer, so go outside and enjoy yourself. I'm going to be painting this weekend again, so I'll see you next week on my next video. So bye for now. Bye-bye.